Okay, hello everyone. Farooq is here. Dominic is here. Good. Let me go ahead and test Farooq. Is he still there? Okay. Okay, Farooq. In just a moment, I'm going to bring you on and make sure that you can hear and make sure that we can hear you. Just a moment. I'm going to bring you on and make sure that you can hear. I'm hearing some feedback. That's coming from you, Sakshi? So when I speak and it comes out through one of the other things, it should be okay though.
I just put it on mute, so it should be fine now.
All right. And so I'm pasting a couple of links here for you in the private chat box. I hope that everyone's doing well. Today we should be streaming both to YouTube and Facebook, and we have a couple of special guests here with us, Mr. Dominic Petch and Farooq. Farooq, I'm just going to bring you on for a moment. So can you hear me, Farooq?
Hello everyone. Are you able to hear me?
We can hear you and see you perfectly.
That's great. Okay, so I'm very, very happy that I am here right now, and I never had such an idea in my life that one day I would be speaking live on YouTube. So I would see this as a great opportunity, and let's see how it goes.
Okay, very good. Very good. So the way this will work is I'm going to take you off the screen right now, but I think you'll still be able to hear and everything. And then when we're ready, I'll bring you on, I'll bring Dominic on, and we can have our conversation and talk about some things, okay?
Okay, great. Awesome.
All right. Okay, good. So, very good. We're here today to talk about the one thing that I've done and that we're going to hopefully help you guys do that has totally changed my life. And I think that our guests would probably agree with that, as well as Sakshi. The one thing, and it's not even just a thing, but it's also a habit. So it's one habit or practice that has totally transformed my speech and my life. And I'm not exaggerating the least bit about that. Without this one thing, I wouldn't be who I am today. I would not be here. And all of the people who we've helped wouldn't have been helped, at least not by me, right? So that's how huge this one thing is. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We want to welcome everyone. Thank you, Sakshi, for being here. Thank you, Farooq and Dominic. We're going to have them come on and share a little bit, and then they will also be available to answer some of your questions as they're able. We also, if you are on Facebook, I'm not sure that I can see all of your comments, but Sakshi will be going back and forth monitoring. And I can see the YouTube comments. So if someone on Facebook could do me a favor and just say hello and let me see if I can see your comments here. We should be able to. So if you're watching on Facebook, just type into the comments and say hello, and that'll let us know that at least we can see your comments. So let's just go ahead and get started, because this is why we're all here, is you want to know what's this one thing, right? So before I share that with you, I want to ask you guys, and not our guests, not Sakshi, because they know already, but let me just ask the audience, what do you think the one thing is that I've been doing for probably the last, almost 30 years, but at least 25 years? The one thing that I've been doing that's changed my whole life. Type that into the chat box. Type that into the chat box for me. So what's one thing that I've been doing that has changed my whole life? Go ahead and type that. I'm just going to give you a moment. Okay, so someone says practicing. That is a part of it. That's true, but it's it's a little more specific. Smiling. Smiling is also very helpful. What else? Let's try to get several suggestions. Modeling. That's something I started earlier. It's even something before that, like relaxing. Okay. So let me give you a hint. How did I learn about relaxing? How did I learn about modeling? How did I learn about breathing? How do you think I learned? Trying to get confidence, someone said. Where do you think I learned? Working patiently. Affirmations, okay. Self-talk, great, great. But where do you think I learned all of that? How do you think I learned it? That's the question. Observing, daily affirmations, positive thinking, that I'm an awesome speaker. Yes, all of those things. So I'm going to share this with you. Believe it or not, the one thing that I've been doing that I want to encourage you guys to do is listening to audio. Listening to audio. Okay. So, and the reason that this is so powerful, and I'll just, give you a little bit of the backstory. The thing that happened to me 20 some years ago, I was an officer and I was going through officer's basic course. And because I was the most senior member, I was selected to be the class leader. So I was leading a group of people who actually had more experience than I did because they were closer to the time that they had their training. So I had been out for a while. These guys were in. They were a lot sharper than me, but I was the most senior. So therefore, they selected me to be the class leader. And there was one time where I was standing in front of my platoon and I had to call them to attention. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't get the word attention out. So here I am, the leader, couldn't get the word attention out. So I had to call up my platoon sergeant and have him call them to attention and dismiss the platoon. That was probably one of the most embarrassing moments of my life where I couldn't get it out in front of a group of people where I'm supposed to be able to speak well. So in the class, I explained to everyone, hey, sometimes I get a little stuck. Hope this doesn't happen again. And I figured out ways to get that word out, but it was very embarrassing. So sometime after that, later that year, someone introduced me to some audio tapes. Back then we used to have cassette tapes. I don't know if you guys remember those, right? We had cassette tapes. And they introduced me to Brian Tracy. And so I started listening to tapes. I listened to his tapes so much, they began to wear out. Some of them snapped. I had to actually piece them back together with Scotch tape or repurchase. So I listened to tapes. So I listened to tapes all the time. And then they went to CDs and MP3s. But I used to listen to probably now tens of thousands of hours of audio. And that is what changed my life, because that's where I learned modeling and relaxing and affirmations and everything else. So we'll go into a little more detail about the importance of listening to audio, not just video. Video is great, but audio is even more powerful. We'll talk about specific reasons why, what kinds of audio you want to listen to and where you can get it from. But trust me, this will be probably the most important habit that you ever develop, because it can and will affect every other habit. Everything that you learn, pretty much you can learn from audios, right? And so again, we'll go into that. Let's hear from some of our guests about how audio listening and video watching, how it's impacted them. Let me just start with Sakshi, and then we'll move to Dominic and Farooq and talk to them as well. So Sakshi, tell us some of the things that you've learned and how that's impacted your life just from what you've heard or watched on audio or video.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here today, and hi everyone who's joining today. So audio listening has helped me because it helped me understand what to think on a daily basis about my speech. And that's how it's helped me, because every day I was listening to something that will help me, rather than thinking about myself as a stutterer, as someone who stammers. I was listening to these different things which were helping me smoothen out my speech. So when I did that over and over again on a daily basis, it really helped me transform the way I look at myself as a speaker, and was able to
Excellent,
transform my
excellent.
speech.
Thank you. So listening to audio provides you with an alternative or alternative things to think about. So those of you who've heard me talk about this, one of the things that has to be changed if you want to actually start speaking smoother, if you want to be able to say what you want to say, one of the things that has to change is your mindset, what you think. You already know this. I don't have to tell you this. Right now, many of you are worried about your speech. You're anticipating. There's words that you can't say. There's letters. Some of you have a problem saying your name. And so you're thinking about your speech constantly, worrying about it. So you have something that's coming up, you're thinking about it. So one of the things that has to change is your mindset, what you think about. So let's go to Dominic. I'm going to bring you on, Dominic, because you had a particular issue that
Yes.
you struggled with. So
hmm
Sakshi, I'm going to take you off for just a moment so we have more room for Dominic, and we'll bring you back. So Dominic, welcome. Thank you for being willing to do this. Tell us
Thanks for having me.
what you struggled with, why you came to me.
So I came to Michael Williams nearly about 2 months ago, and due to the fact that I would have trouble saying my first and my last name, I couldn't say, "Hello, my name is Dominic Petch," in front of random people who just asked me, just try to meet me in general. And I couldn't live like that anymore. So that's when I decided to take the next step. And ever since then, with my daily routine, I've seen a very quick improvement. Um, from audio listening, uh, it has definitely changed my mindset. I obviously sometimes still get stuck, but it's still I've seen great results. One thing that I always want to talk about is what I've learned while listening to these audios. I've learned a lot on how to model, and so every time I speak, I try to model Michael himself, and that's almost like lots of just these new these new speech techniques have almost distracted my brain to to not see myself as a stutter or or just stammer in general. So that's what I've gotten from the audios, and I've seen a very good improvement.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Very good, very good. So things that you've learned has given you techniques and strategies and other things to think about other than the fact that I'm not able to say my name, I'm a stutterer, I'm a stammerer. You're able to now, I call, flood your mind with stuff
Correct.
that's more constructive and positive, right?
Correct. Um, I would I would say I'm still trying to become a better speaker when it comes to articulating. And last week you wanted me to eliminate words as like, but that's that might take some more time.
Right. So here's a very important point that Dominic has mentioned. Pro 90D is not just about helping you overcome stuttering. It's about helping you become an excellent speaker. So anyone can use Pro 90D. It just so happens that we happen to focus on people who struggle with their speech, often with stuttering, stammering, speaking too fast. So Dominic is now going from now able to say his name. You're out there talking to people, introducing yourself, making phone calls,
hmm
and
Yeah,
your speech is speak. And you're about to join like a Toastmasters, right? Didn't you say that you're going to?
yes. I so I'm looking forward to it. So
Yeah. Okay.
One thing I would like to add, if I can, I don't want to
Yeah,
disrupt too much.
of course.
Um, due to COVID, I haven't really been able to get out there as much as I would like to and meet people. But
Mm,
when I have been put in those situations as fewer times as it really is, like I have seen a higher success rate, which is um, very, very crucial or very, very important to me to positive, create positive memories, I would say. And then
yeah,
with phone calls, that has been night and day. That that for me has improved at least 80% just off of the cell phone calls. Having to say my name to complete an order, or having to give my name to someone's, yeah. So
yeah,
just phone calls in general have really like I don't have the mindset when making a phone call anymore of, oh no, what if they ask for my name? So
right.
um,
Very
and
good.
that's a great thing to have is a clear mind. So
Yeah. So great, Dominic. Thanks. We'll be bringing you back on a little later. I'm going to go to Farooq and bring him on. So one of the things that you heard Dominic say is now he doesn't worry about phone calls anymore. So what Pro 90D does is you actually start feeling kind of this release, like you've been released from your mental prison, where you're constantly worrying about making a phone call, introducing yourself, saying your name, saying hello. Some of you have been asking, well, how do I say this letter? How do I say this word? I have a problem with this or that. The system, it's the system. It's not just one technique or three techniques. It's the entire process of which audio listening is really the foundation of it. Audio listening or video watching, for those of you that watch videos, the foundation of it. And it's the whole process that helps to transform your mindset, your speaking identity, and your speech, that actually helps you say those words and letters like introduce yourself and so forth. It's the system. So if you don't have the system, we want to encourage you to get into the system, which brings me to Farooq. Farooq has been and is a self-study student. So we've never done one-on-one coaching. And while it's taken him longer, but he's still there and he's still improving, but he's there. So Farooq, first say a little bit about the audio listening, how that's impacted you, audio, video, and then we want to ask you a little bit about your story.
Awesome, awesome. That's great. So, first of all, I would say that right now my mindset is saying that you have to speak fast. So, I would try to ensure that I don't speak as fast. I'm trying to relax myself down right now. Okay, so just getting started with answering your question. First of all, it's a great, great question and a great, great point that you made. And what you asked about the audios and the videos, it's one of the most important things that we have in this system. And the reason is that it's not only about the way that you speak, it's mostly about your mindset and what you believe about your speech, how you see yourself as a speaker. So, all of that is quite hard if you want to change it. And if you don't watch the videos, if you don't listen to the audios, that is the most important thing. And I was just listening to one audio just before entering this webinar so that I could really see you in my mind while I would be speaking. So, first of all, it's very important in order to change your mindset as a whole. And number two, it's important for the base of the system. The foundation of the system is modeling. And if you want to model someone, you would not be, you would not be, it would not be quite easy to speak like someone if you have not watched him or heard him as much. So, this is the main foundation of the system that changes the way you speak, that changes the way you believe about your speech. You have to really see yourself as someone else while you're speaking. And when you listen to the audios, when you watch the videos, you really get that new speaking style up there in your mind. And when you go out there, you have to use it. It's quite easy for you to use, as you already know in your mind what this new speaking system is and what this new speaking system looks like. So, yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to bring Sakshi back on for a moment and ask her a question. But before I do that, so Farooq, there's a couple of unique things about you. Number one, tell people where you're from and what's your mother tongue? Like, what do you, excuse me, what do you speak most of the time?
Okay, sure. So, for all of you who don't know me, my name is Farooq. I am 19 years old and I am from Karachi, that is here in Pakistan, basically. And I have been really struggling with my speech at one case where I would not be able to say even one word in a single conversation. If I had a conversation with someone and maybe I just had to say one word like yes or okay, that's okay. And even I would struggle to say that one word. So now sometimes I just look back, I just laugh about it that I have seen how much I have improved with my speech, and it's quite great that right now I'm speaking live on YouTube. I had no idea in my life that one day I would get one chance to speak on live, to speak live on YouTube. So that's a great opportunity for me. And what you asked about which language do I speak? So our national language is Urdu. That is quite related to the language of Hindi. It's same almost. And my speech has not only improved in this language, my speech has also improved in that language, since that is the language that I speak for the most part. And I only speak in English while I'm in the group meetings that we have each day. So, yes, and my speech has transformed in both of these languages. I have changed my mindset, I've changed my speech, but still sometimes I do get stuck and I'm working more and more on it, and I'm seeing some great results. And one more thing, I'm very happy to speak with Mr. Michael also for the first time one on one. As for those of you who don't know, I've worked with the self study on my own, and I have not had a conversation with Mr. Michael yet. So, in this webinar, I was very excited to speak with you guys and also to speak with Mr. Michael one on one. So, it's really great.
Thank you, Farooq. Thank you. So, Sakshi, um, what do you think about the fact, he said a few things. I just want to get your thoughts on this too. So number one, English is not his first language. Not only that, it's not something that he necessarily uses all the time, but his English is almost flawless, right? And he's been working on his own with the self-study. Now, not quite on his own, because now we have a community that I want you guys to understand how important this is. And Farooq, along with Abdullah, they're some of the leaders of this group. But you also started with the self-study, and English is a second language of yours. So tell us a little bit about that experience, because lots of people who are watching this are multilingual. Some people would like to get started with the self-study first, maybe do the coaching if they need to later. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question. First of all, I'd like to say thanks to Dominic and Farooq for sharing their journeys with us. And Farooq, especially, I'm so impressed just with the self-study. He has been able to see a lot of improvement. So this is great. I'm really, really happy for you, Farooq. And I hope you continue to work on yourself, and you already are an amazing speaker, and I'm sure you'll get only better and better. So yeah, the question that you asked about language. So yes, when I started the course, I was a bit confused whether learning about Pro 90D and becoming a better speaker in the language that is not my native language, will I be able to translate it to Hindi? And I was able to do that because I was able to apply all the skills and techniques in my own language. So the principles are the same about the mindset and the habits. It's just like I need to apply it in my own language. So it's pretty easy. It was pretty easy to transfer all my learnings into two different languages, or even maybe the third. I was trying to learn Japanese at that time, and I was also applying some of the techniques in that. So yeah.
Yes, very good, very good. So some of you will think, well, will this work for me? Well, here you have 3 different people. You have Farooq in Pakistan. Some of you are like, well, I can't afford it. So, or I speak, a different language. I can't afford the coaching. Some people may say, hey, well, I just need to fix these couple of words. I can't say my name, right? So we have all of those kinds of situations that you've seen here, and you've seen how this process has been able to transform their speech. And all of it really has started from what they've listened to and what they've watched. So some of you are out there and you're like, well, I'll just watch the YouTube videos. And that's why we put these out there, so that they'll be helpful. But understand, the YouTube videos are not the entire system. It's not the entire structure. And they're disorganized, right? Because they're all over the place. So if you really want to transform your speech, do like Farooq did and start with the self-study. He's in Pakistan and he figured out a way to get into the self-study. Most people have some disposable income. If you look at what you've spent over the past, for some of you, it'll be a week. For some of you, it'll be a month or a year. Have you spent a couple $100? Have you spent a few $100, US dollars, over the course of the last year on something that was not critical, right? I'm talking about food, clothing, electric. Have you spent a couple $100 over the past year on going out to eat or something like, or whatever? Most people are going to be able to say, well, yes, I spent at least a few $100 on other kinds of activities, right? So it's really a matter of priority, that if this is something that you really want to do, that you need to do, you can and will find the money for it. And until it gets to that time where you need to do it, and often that time is when you are losing job opportunities. So Pro 90D is an investment. It's an investment in your future, and it's an investment where you can get a financial return. So we help people get better jobs. We say life is better with smooth speech. You get better jobs. You earn what you're worth. You fulfill your potential. You feel more relaxed. You have better relationships. You're happier. Everything is better with smooth speech. So the only question is, do you believe that Pro 90D can help you get to that smooth speech? And you have to answer that question, but we're presenting evidence that says that it can and it does, no matter who you are or where you're from. You can be female, male, English second language. It doesn't matter. It can help you. Sakshi, go ahead and post in the chat box a link to the self-study. I'm also going to put this up. We're going to get into just a couple of details about specifically how audio listening can help you. Then I'm going to bring our guests back on to answer some questions. So guys, if you have questions, it's a great time to start to think. If you have questions for Dominic, if you have questions for Farooq, Sakshi, for me, in just a few minutes, we're going to give you an opportunity to share those questions. But let's talk about some specific ways that the audio helps, and our guests have already shared. So number one, in fact, Sakshi, I remember you and I were talking, and I think this was live a few weeks ago, and you told me that there was something that you didn't even know was true until you heard it in an audio. And I think it had something to do with you didn't even know that you could transform your speech, that there was a way for you to replace it, right? You just thought that you're kind of stuck with it, that you had to treat it. Say a little bit more about that epiphany.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point that you raised, because when I was struggling with my speech, I thought that this is something that I have to live with, and this is something that can never change, because that's how you think about things, right? If you're going through something and you feel like this is never going to end, and because it is something that is so evident and keeps continuing, and the more you try, the more it just keeps happening. So I was really frustrated. And when I heard you say that it is possible to become an excellent speaker from someone who stutters, that was like, wow, like that was unbelievable actually. And I questioned it for a very long time. But then when I got a little bit of faith and I started watching more of your videos and I enrolled myself in the self-study, I realized that, okay, this is working for me, and it's all based on science. I mean, it's all based on habit formation and neuroplasticity. And like clearly, because I'm from the field of psychology, I could relate to it much more, and I could understand that, yes, this works and it has worked with so many people. So why am I questioning it? And so then when I started to work on myself on a daily basis with the coaching as well, I was really able to transform my speech. So yes, so that point where from going from no, I cannot change this to yes, I can definitely change this was a very big step for me. And I think that's where most of us get stuck sometimes, in the sense believing that something is possible. So yeah.
So, so there are those of you out there who are either you're unsure or you don't believe. It's like you're not sure if Pro 90D works. So the science is there, and you can, in fact, we're going to be releasing a new version of Pro 90D, and you can go, and there's some free sessions in there where you can look at the science. Now, we've had lots of doctors who have been a part of the program who've chosen Pro 90D. We've had scientists, PhDs, who've chosen the program because of the science, right? Because of the science. So the science is there. So someone says, well, I'm not sure if it'll work. Well, the science is there. You can research it for yourself. Number two, I'm not sure if this will work for me because I'm different. Well, we've worked with tens of thousands of people, probably thousands of people one-on-one, tens of thousands of people in our self-study from all over the world, all different kinds of languages, from severe stuttering to people who don't stutter at all. They just have, trouble maybe speaking too fast. The whole gamut. Pro 90D works for them. So it can work for you. But then here's another one, and someone has a question there or a statement. How can I be consistent? So the question is how will you do the work? So sometimes you've taken programs in the past, as we all have, and we weren't consistent. We didn't do the work. And this is so normal. So, I mean, all of us probably have done this. I've done it. So what's important? So here's the thing. I've spent the last 20 some years figuring this stuff out so that you don't have to. It took me 3 years from the time I started this process. There was really no programs out there in the same way online back when I started this in the mid 90s, right? That's what the late 90s, actually the mid to late 90s. So they didn't have programs like this. There were books out there, there's treatment, but you had to go buy the books and so forth. And so there's nothing really like this. So I figured out some things. It took me years to do that, Then it took me more years to figure out how to improve my conversations and more years to figure out some other things. I've spent tens and tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands, and tens of thousands of hours figuring this out so you don't have to. That's what this program is about. So you can do this. And one of the things we've done with this self-study is created a community. Farooq is a part of it. Dominic's a part of it. Sakshi is a part of this community to help you stay encouraged, to help you from getting distracted and discouraged. So when you join the Pro 90D speech system, you're also joining a community. So the science is there, the information is there for you to listen to and watch, which helps change your mindset. You discover things that maybe you didn't know before, but we also have a community that can help hold you accountable to keep you going. So I just wanted to point out a couple of major benefits of audio listening and benefits over video watching. So you can listen to a video, right? So you can put a video on and listen to it while you do something else. And that's just as good as audio. The power of audio listening is you can do it while you're doing other things, right? And generally speaking, you're going to listen to something far more times than you will read it. So you have a book or you have an audio book. I've listened to audiobooks hundreds of times where I've only read the book maybe once. So which one of these am I going to get the most information from? Well, the audiobook, because I've listened to it so many different times. So you're going to get more information and retain more information because you're going to listen to it more times. The other major benefit of listening to audio is it floods your mind with something that's constructive, something that's positive, something that's going to help you, as opposed to letting yourself think negative or think about your speech the way it is now or worrying about something. So what I do personally, if something's bothering me, is I'll go find an audiobook that addresses it and listen to it. So I'll substitute my thinking. I'll flood my mind with something that's going to help me as opposed to something that's going to pull me down. So what I'd like to do is to bring back on our guests, and we're going to just go through and answer some questions. So Sakshi, if you can also monitor the questions in case I don't get all of them. We're just going to bring both of our guests back on. All right, so we got all you guys on here. We got some questions. If you ask a question earlier and I missed it, and if you want to direct that question to a specific guest, please feel free to do so. So Dominic, I think that Pooja thinks you're cute. She said that you were cute, so I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And so Farooq, I'm sure that you're cute too, but we have some other questions for you. So we'll just start at the bottom. How has modeling impacted your life, Farooq? We'll start with you, and then if you want to answer that to Dominic, please do so. So Farooq, how has it impacted your life?
Okay. So first of all, it's a great question. And how I would like to answer that is it has been the one major thing, I would say the major thing that has transformed my speech. Because when I got started working with this course, I used to focus on just one skill at one time, where it was just having to slow down my speech, or sometimes having to extend out my words, sometimes focusing on the linkage of my words. But what I saw is that it was really helping my speech. But after a while, I used to get back. I used to get back with my old speaking style. And the main reason for that was that I was just trying to change the way that I speak. I was not having to change my mindset. And this is the major link. If you have to work on your speech, if you have to really improve your speech, you have to change your mindset. And modeling is the thing. It's really pretty much great, I would say, that you have to be someone else while you're speaking. Like right now, when I'm speaking, I have in my mind that it is Mr. Michael Williams who is speaking right now. So it makes it quite great for me, and my speech gets a lot more smoother with it. While I just focus on that I'm not myself right now, I am someone else. And what happens with this is that whatever unsuccessful speaking experiences you had in your past, it all just goes in vain since you're not yourself right now. You're someone else. So it is the one main thing that has transformed my speech. And I would just like to add that Mr. Michael is not only my speaking model, he is my role model as well, in a sense, because I also want to work with all of those in the future who have struggled with their speeches. So, and this is the one goal that really, really inspires me to work on my speech each and every single day. So, yes, it has been one main thing. And in short, it is the one main thing, it is the foundation of the system. If you don't focus on that, you focus on each and everything else, then you might still see some improvements, but they would not be those improvements that you want for yourself. So, yes, I hope I made sense.
Absolutely.
You,
Uh, yes, yes, Dominic,
yeah,
we can hear you.
yeah.
Sorry.
I can I can hear you as well, and
Okay,
um,
you just weren't able to
I
hear.
I just heard like cracks in like the audio, like that's like all I heard instead of
Oh,
his actual voice. But I mean, I can hear you fine, and then I assume I can hear Sakshi.
okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. So
Okay.
with Farooq, I don't know if I can hear him, but I mean, it's weird because I heard him the very first time. So,
Got it. Yeah. So why don't we have you answer that question if you'd like? Um, in brief, how has modeling helped you? I think you and I talked about that in our session a week or two ago, but just
hmm
briefly, how has modeling helped you?
um, I would say modeling has impacted me probably arguably the very most, just because it's almost distracted my brain from thinking, oh, I'm not going to be able to say it. So if I say it a new way, um, that's just going to distract my brain. And so that helps me say what I want to say when I want to say it. So that's how modeling has really impacted me. Really, I try to model every single time I speak and just slow down. And so
Yeah.
one thing that helps with me
So,
with modeling is, oh, sorry.
no,
One
go
thing that
ahead.
helps me is just being able to just slow down and try to articulate as best as I can. I know there's sometimes I'm not the best at it, but um, in all due time, I feel like I'll get where I need to be at.
Yeah. So, one of the big benefits of modeling is it helps you, even though some people find it very, very difficult, it's something that you already know how to do because it's how you learned your original language in the first place. And it's how we learn a lot of things by just observing how other people do it. It's very natural observational learning. You already know how to do it. It's a matter of you're now consciously doing it for your speech again because you did it once growing up. So now we're just doing it again. So someone says, "Oh, well, modeling doesn't work." Well, it's already worked. It already works. I've seen people who've actually gotten around people who stutter. I've literally watched people who I've worked with years ago. They're working with me, their speech improves. They go to an organizational meeting with a group of stutterers, and when they came back, their speech was worse. That's modeling in action. It's observate because they're watching and they're listening to other people stutter. It actually can impact your speech. So we're just talking about taking what you already know how to do and using it in a constructive manner. So something that you said is that it helps to distract you, which is one of the powers of modeling. It distracts you from yourself. It changes not only your mindset, but your speaking identity and helps you see yourself as being someone else. Now, this is not necessarily long term, it's temporary, but it helps you create a new speaking identity. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So thanks, Dominic. We've got some other questions.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring some other people, or bring Farooq, who's in here twice, bring him up on the stage because we've got some other questions for him. Hey, Farooq, are you there? Hello, Farooq. Yeah, you're.
It's on.
Now I can't hear you. Try to leave and maybe come back again. Okay, so can you say something, Farooq? No, I still can't hear you. Let me try the other stream. Yeah. Hello, Farooq. No, that one's gone too. So let's address some of these other questions here. Here's one. Hello, Michael. Isn't it better to model someone that speaks the same first language as you? Sakshi, you addressed this already, so why don't you take that one?
Sure. I think you can always pick someone from your own first language to model. You always have that option, but you can always also try modeling Michael in your own language. That will also work. So it depends on what works best for you, and you can go on that basis.
Okay. Thank you. So yes, you can get a model in your first language. Absolutely. You don't have to model me. You can model me or someone else and translate that into your own language. You can start with me and then add a model in your own language later. Some people like to do that. So any of those can work. You really just have to try and see which one. I've had some people say, oh, I don't really want to model you. I already have someone. They try it and then they start getting confused. Maybe the person speaks too fast or something else. And they say, you know what, this is getting confusing. I'm going to just stick with you for now and do that later. So it really is up to you. You don't have to model me. You can model someone else. And you can model someone in your own language. But you can model me and you can translate it into your own language. That does work. I got another question here. It's pretty interesting. Let's see. Farooq. This is for Farooq. So let's see if we can get Farooq back. Hello, Farooq. Can you hear us? Oh, looks like you're all right. Unmute. Okay. No, we can't hear you for some reason. Try leaving the whole thing. Use the link to come back in and try to reconnect your audio. So for some reason, your audio is not working. Okay. So try to leave and come back. All right, let's just see. And we'll answer this question. Well, actually, he's got to answer that question because it's for him. So let's go to another question or statement, actually. Someone here said, what do we have here? Someone says, I get too excited while speaking. And Sakshi, there's another question here about the self-study and the different options. So, and I think it's someone from India. Could you look at that? And then let me see, you can't really respond. So maybe you can send me the response and then I'll paste it. Okay. All right.
Sure.
So Farooq, are you there? Let's see. Let me just see if we can get Farooq. Hello, Farooq?
Yes.
We can hear you now. Okay. So
Yes. Now it's it okay?
yes, it's
Finally.
okay. All right. So just give me a second. Someone says they get too excited while speaking. So a part of what needs to happen, and you learned this from the audio, and I'm sure that you've already heard the audio, but a part of it now is self-talk. We'll talk about that in another session. But it's reminding yourself. In fact, one of the first things that Farooq said, and I'm sure Dominic did this too, when they came on stage here, he said, something's telling me to speak fast. Something's telling me to go fast. But I'm telling myself to slow down, to take my time. And that is exactly what he did. So this comes from your being conscious. Hey, I feel like speaking fast, or hey, I'm speaking too fast. I need to tell myself to slow down. And I might need to constantly, consistently tell myself, slow down, slow down, slow down, and slow my speech down. And it's something that you have to practice doing. So Farooq, almost every day, is a part of a group of people where he gets to practice. And that's a part of the self-study where he gets to practice so that he can control himself in the moment. And I'll let him say a little bit of something about that. But there's this question here. Give me just a second. I wanted to get to that question. Someone said, Farooq, yes, here's a question. How long did it take you to improve yourself? So keeping in mind that you've been working on your own, go ahead and answer that question. How long did it take you to improve?
Okay. Okay. So first of all, I want to make sure that you guys are able to hear me, right?
I can hear.
Awesome. Awesome. Great.
Yes. Okay, good.
So it is, yes. So it is actually quite a great question. And how I would like to answer it is that, first of all, when I wanted to get started with this Pro 90D speech system, I really wanted to work one on one with Mr. Michael Williams. But as I'm only 19 right now, I'm not in some kind of a job or something. So I just got started with the self study, and it has really improved my speech. But the main point is that since I was not speaking one on one with Mr. Michael Williams, I used to experience some improvements in my speech, and then I used to get back. Then I used to experience some great improvements, and then I used to get back. And I had really no idea what I should focus on. Since the system has so much, and sometimes you just don't know what you have to focus on. And I was not speaking one on one with Mr. Michael Williams. So I had to just see it on my own, and it was quite hard for me. So, for I think more than 1 year, I have been working with the self study. And for that 1 year, the first year, I was working on my speech. I was seeing some improvements, and then I used to get back, as I said. And I was not working as hard on my speech as I should have been. But fortunately, I should say that we got started with the group meetings that we have each day. And only from these group meetings, I got an idea that, okay, I should focus on this, I should focus on that. And this is what I need to focus on. From all the feedbacks that I got, I just got an idea that, okay, this is what I need to focus on first. And after this, I need to focus on this and that and that. So it really did help me. But I would say that if you can get started with working one on one with Mr. Michael Williams, it is the best way to work on your speech. I also really wish that I would have worked one on one with him. So, if you really want to get started working with this self study, get on working with Mr. Michael Williams. So it is the main thing that I wanted to highlight. And what really helps me is also that when my brain knows that I am going to speak in the group meetings, then I work more on my speech. So for the first year, I was not really working as hard on my speech. But now when I know that I have to speak in those group meetings and I have to speak well, I have to speak smoothly, so it really makes me to work on my speech each and every single day. So yes, I hope I answered the question.
Very good. Thank you. So there's a few things that I want to highlight here. Number one, excuse me, every couple of years or so, we update the self-study. And so we know that people, even though it's in there, there's a daily routine and it's in there, but sometimes just the way it's laid out, people are like, well, what do I do first? So we take that feedback from people and we enhance and we update the self-study to make it better, to make the experience better. So a couple of key things that Farooq alluded to that we've added, and something else that we're adding that I want to let you guys know about. Number one, we've made it flow better so that it's clearer what you need to do first, what you need to do second, and so forth. So this new self-study that you guys can be grandfathered into has this better flow. So someone says, well, why should I buy the new one if I can just buy the old one? Well, that's like asking, do you want to drive a car that's a 1975 or a 2020 or even a 2018 or a 2016, right? What's the difference? Why do I need to buy a new car? Well, yeah, they'll both get you from point A to point B, but the technology's been updated. It probably has a better ride. It has better features. It's more comfortable. It's probably safer. It's totally up to you. You can use the old version, but the new version is more efficient and in many ways more effective because we've rolled in feedback from our students and clients. So one thing that you're going to see in the new version is that the pathway is clear, what you need to do first, second, and third. The second thing is there's a community. He says, now we're meeting every day. Now, I don't know that they'll continue to meet every day forever, but they're going to continue to have regular meetings, and you can be a part of that. And that can make all the difference in the world, being able to meet on a regular basis with a group of people where you can feel safe. So those two things. A third thing that we're adding, Sakshi and myself, primarily Sakshi, but we'll both be doing this at first. We'll be having orientations. So new self-study will have live orientations that you can attend. We'll start with one, and then we'll move up to about 2 a month. You can attend the orientations and ask your questions, and we'll make sure that you know exactly what you need to do. So our coaching clients get an orientation. So if you do 6 sessions, you actually get 7. The first one is an hour. We orient you to the program and say, here's exactly what you need to do every day. All of our coaching clients get that. Our self-study clients don't, but you will. We're adding that in. Why am I saying this? Well, we're going to be releasing this new program probably within the next week, and it's still going to be very, very, very affordable. However, if you joined the current self-study, which costs a little less, you're going to be grandfathered into the new one. So let me post the link here. Get into this current self-study and understand that when we release the new one, you're going to get that too, along with all the benefits. Okay, so take advantage. If you want to improve your speech, take advantage of this self-study now. Some of you may actually want to start working with me one-on-one or working with Sakshi one-on-one. And so you want to go to this link that I'm posting here and check out the self-study. Sakshi's also going to post those links in the appropriate chats, okay, that you can copy and paste or whatever. So those are the 2 things that I wanted to mention there. Let's take a look, because there's a couple of other questions here. It takes longer with the self-study. Yes, it does take longer with self-study if you want to accelerate your progress by at least 10 times. At least 10 times. It's 10 times faster if you work with us. I've seen that. What else? I'm just looking up. Someone asked a question. Did you use a model when you were learning Spanish, and why did you want to learn Spanish? So I guess the reason that I wanted to learn is because I wanted to learn a second language. I love Latin American culture in general. I love the language. I love the music. I try to go out at least once a week and speak Spanish and so forth. Still, I'm not 100% fluent, but fairly fluent. And I have used models off and on, but not as much as I should. So here's the thing. I know what I need to do to improve my Spanish. I have not been modeling, and so I know that when I go to speak Spanish, it's not as fluent as it needs to be. And I understand that. So I want you to remember this too, that if you're not doing all the things you need to do, just understand your speech is not going to be where you want it to be. So I know if I'm only speaking Spanish once a week, that when I first started speaking for the first hour or the first 30 minutes or 20 minutes, it's not going to be very smooth. If you want to immerse yourself in the process of speaking whatever language you speak, using Pro 90D, then you're going to want to do this every single day. I have lived in a Latin American country for a couple of months, and my Spanish got extremely well. Why? Because I immersed myself. So another part of Pro 90D is you're immersing yourself in this process, listening to audios, watching, listening, using what you're learning, as Farooq is doing in the group, as Dominic is doing, making phone calls, trying to talk to people. If you immerse yourself in the process, you're going to find that you're able to transform your identity, your mindset, and your speech much, much faster. So to answer your question, I had a model a while back. I don't have a model now, and I wanted to learn it just because it's a passion of mine, and I love the language. So thank you for that question. All right. Any other questions, Sakshi, that you see in here? I know we've missed some, but here's...
Yeah, I am not able to share the link on the chats
okay.
because I'm not the host. So
Got it. Did you? Yeah. Okay. So I would have to do that. So here, let me see if this is one of the links here. Yeah. So there's a link for the smooth speech system I'm sharing in the chat. Here's a link for, and someone has posted a link also for us there. Here's a link for the coaching. On that page, you can go and book a conversation with us. Some of you may want to coach with Sakshi, so let us know about that. Sakshi is a certified coach. She's coached people by herself. And some of you just may feel comfortable and want to coach with her. For sure, we can do a meeting with all of us, but she's totally qualified and is an excellent, excellent coach. I wouldn't say that if I didn't believe it. So let's just say that. Okay, any other questions? Any other questions for our guests? I'm going to bring our guests back on because where are we at? Yeah, we're a little over. I'm going to bring both of our guests back on and have some last. The focus of this particular session was the one thing that I've done and that all of you've done that's changed your life, transformed your speech. And you may not have actually thought about it, but it kind of started from the watching and the listening and the getting the information in to say, aha, I can do this. This is possible. Or this is what I'm supposed to do. The audio listening. And for some of you, the video watching. Okay. So Farooq and Dominic, let's start with Dominic. Any encouraging words that you want to share with people about whether or not this actually works, and anything that you'd like to share about this process?
Yes, Michael. Before Pro 90D, I was in a terrible, terrible mindset, and ever since then, it's just been night and day. I mean, for instance, I have a job interview literally on August 3rd, and I'm not sweating it a bit. Like I know what I'm going to say and how I will say it. I've almost eliminated the fear inside of my head, and that is due to when it comes to modeling, modeling, and then daily audio listening, which then has given me all these tools to use in these certain speaking situations. And so I would encourage anyone to do whatever they can to speak with Michael Williams, sign up for the Pro 90 program, or just put yourself in as many speaking situations as possible. And
Yeah.
It's helped me, and it's helped a lot, many of other people like Farooq and Sakshi. So that's been my experiences, and it's been awesome.
Thank you, Dominic. So Farooq, before we get to your closing comments, there's a question here that I wanted to post. Okay, so excellent job. Here's a question. How to apply modeling whenever someone is watching you, strictly in a conversation in Hindi? All right, so do you understand the question? How do you apply it every time when like, I guess if you're in a conversation with someone, they're looking at you. How do you activate that model?
Okay, yes. Okay, the way I would like to answer this question is that it is not as easy to use this. It, or I should say, it has not been as easy for me to use this in my own language. But it's just that the more I went out and the more I used it, the more I sort of forced myself that you are Mr. Michael Williams. You are Mr. Michael Williams. I needed to just remind myself that I am not myself right now. I am Mr. Michael Williams right now. So it's just that I say, yes, it's not as easy, especially in the start, but you have to go out there. You have to get yourself under those situations where you see that it's hard. And the more you go out in those actual situations and the more you use this modeling, the easier and easier it gets for you. Like for me, there were some situations where having to speak like and being Mr. Michael Williams was very hard. But I said that in these situations, I want to go out more and I want to use this new speaking style. I want to speak like Mr. Michael Williams. So the more I went out there, the more I used Mr. Michael Williams's speaking style. Now it's very, 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 very easy for me. And sometimes it happens that now I don't even have to remind myself. It just it just starts to happen on its own. So it has not, I have not really, I should say, it is not very much, how should I say this? Okay, I still sometimes have to remind myself, but I have seen that it has become a lot easier for me to use it. And I
Mm,
know that the more I would get out there, the more I would use it, the easier and easier it would get. So you just have to go out there in those situations and use modeling.
exactly. So, so Sakshi, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that it's all about the mindset at that very moment when you want to model, and you just have to remind yourself, like Farooq said, and that's what works in the beginning, and then as and when your habit changes over time, you don't even have to remind yourself, and you
Yeah.
are already speaking smoothly.
So here's a good question from Juan, and I'll address what you guys just said, and I'll answer this question as well. So it's, how do you balance modeling with being authentic? So if you hear what Farooq said, something very, very critical, which you learn in the Pro 90D Smooth Speech System, is immersing yourself, getting out there, putting yourself in higher and higher pressure speaking situations. There's no way around that. You start out learning in no to low pressure speaking situations, kind of by yourself. Then you have to start speaking with family and friends, reminding yourself to use your new speaking style. Then you get out and you speak with people who you don't know, you're ordering food. If you're already working, you have built in speaking situations. You have to remind yourself, because if you don't, it's not going to come natural. Your brain doesn't want to use more energy than it needs to. So you got to be conscious and intentional about using this and using it under pressure. So you have to put yourself under pressure and remind yourself to use it. Now you also have to put in the time to practice, right? You got to lay down the foundation, then you go out, and remember, every time you open your mouth is practice. So you can't just try to use it when you feel like you need it. It's not going to work. You have to use it all the time. You have to try to use it all the time. The more you try to use it all the time, the more you will be able to. Okay, so this brings us to Juan's question, and something that Farooq said, something that Dominic is experiencing, Sakshi has experienced this. Your brain wants to make, as much as it can, a habit, wants to make it automatic. Automaticity is what we call it. So the more you do it, the more you are firing those neurons together, the more they wire together, which translates into the easier it becomes, the more of a habit it becomes. The less you fire them together, meaning the less you do it, the less of a habit it becomes, and the more you have to consciously remind yourself to use this technique, use that technique, try to speak like Michael, try to speak like my model. The more you do it, the sooner your brain turns it into a habit. Not only the more you do it, but the more in the different kinds of situations in which you do it. So you can do it all the time in low pressure and it can work. And as soon as you get in high pressure, all of a sudden it doesn't work. So now you have to start putting yourself in high pressure speaking situations. And that in part is what the Pro 90 speech system does. Our speakers club, that's what Farooq is talking about. Every day now they're practicing. You have an opportunity to practice in a safe environment. So join the program and everything you need is going to be right there. All the systems, all the audio, the people to support you, the practice opportunities, it's all there. So balance this with being authentic. When you start to model, eventually you won't have to think about modeling. You'll have your own speaking style that will be built upon your models, but it'll be you. It'll be your own speaking. It'll be authentically you. Okay, so I hope I answered that question. All right.
I'd also like to add that being authentic means having your own words. So even if you're modeling Michael, you will be speaking your own words. So you will be yourself.
Exactly. Sakshi, there's a Facebook user who said, when I start the program, can I record the video calls? So if they're doing coaching, yes, we can record those calls for you to see and play back and so forth. So that's on modeling. Any other quick questions that we can do here? Or, all right. So Dominic, you've had your last words. I hate to call it that, but yes, Dominic, go ahead, sir. Sure.
One thing I would like to add is that, like, if anyone, or for all the people who are watching, like, I would love to try and go out and meet everybody and create speaking opportunities, and you guys should feel the same way. If you guys, I would love to come in contact with you guys, and so that's one thing I feel like I need to do a better job of in this group chat and whatnot, is getting my name out there, creating more speaking opportunities. And so for anyone watching this, don't be afraid to reach out at me.
Yeah, I'm sure there's one person who would love to speak with you. Pusha would love to.
Yeah.
we can start our own international dating site.
You might be up to something. You might be up to something, Michael.
Okay.
You start a second
Farooq.
job.
So Farooq, any final comments to leave with us that you haven't shared already, or even you can reinforce something that you've already said? That's okay too.
Okay, sure. So, first of all, I would like to say that it was a really, really great experience right here. And I had to speak with Mr. Michael Williams one-on-one. I had to speak with you guys. So it was a great speaking opportunity for me. So what I would like to say in last, I hope these are not my last words, but what I would like to say is that if you guys have not yet joined the system, I would really, really urge you to join the system. As for me, it has not been one of the best. It has been the best decision of my life to get into this speech system that has not only changed my speech, it has changed my whole life. And I'm still working on it, and I'm still having to make improvements each and every single day. So if you're not in it, just get into it. And as I said, it would be the best decision of your life, and you would see a 180 degree transformation. So yes, and I really, really wish to see you all in this system, and especially in those group meetings that we have each day. So yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Farooq. We just have a couple more quick questions. But just take 2 more minutes and then we'll be off. If anyone needs to jump off, feel free to do so. So Dominic, real quick, are you more relaxed now in higher pressure situations? That's a question for you.
I would say most definitely I'm way more relaxed. It's because with my daily routine, I almost in every speaking situation, I try to use these tools to help me in these high pressure situations. So modeling is a great distraction for me when somebody asks me what my name is. And so for me, that is the highest pressure of all situations. I know everyone has their own high pressure situations, but for me, it was just saying my name. And I feel like now when it comes to modeling and whatnot and articulating my name, that has really helped me big picture wise when it comes to my speech.
Very good. Thank you. And then the final question, sometimes I get a block and I feel like words won't come out. What do I do? And I feel a word won't come out. So we have lots of questions like this. And really the answer that we're all going to tell you, yes, there are techniques, but we would actually be doing you a disservice to give you a specific technique like airflow linking or extending or whatever. It's about the system, the entire system, which addresses your mindset, which drives your speech, believe it or not. The way that you think, what you think, how confident you feel, how relaxed you are, can determine how smoothly you speak. It can determine whether or not you can say those words. Look at Dominic, not Dominic, who used to struggle with saying his name. And I'm not saying that he will never have a problem with it, but now he can go out, introduce himself. He said it here in front of who knows how many people. He can say his name now, but it's not because he used one technique. It's because he immersed himself in the entire process, in the system. So yes, we do give you techniques and strategies, but you really have to get into the system. If you think you can just watch YouTube videos and have it take you to the next level, it's possible. Yes, it's possible. Yes, people do it. Yes, it helps. But if you've been doing it and it hasn't been working, go ahead, take that step and get into the system. Okay. So that's my response to that. I would do you a disservice to try to give you a technique or strategy. You really do need to get into the system. Okay. In fact, Abdullah actually said there's no specific technique that will solve this problem. You need to do the daily routine in the system. Exactly. You try to use one technique, the next, it works for a little bit, then it stops working. Then you go on to another technique. Got to use the entire system, right? Okay, guys, thanks so much. We're going to wrap it up here because we could keep going, but we're not. But we'll be doing these every week. Sometimes we'll have guests. Sometimes we won't, but we'll try to have some guests on here as often as we can. We want to thank everyone. The thing that I want to encourage you to do is come back to this video because I'm going to have some links on here for the self-study, for the private coaching. You can always go to our website and find everything. Take advantage of the self-study now. You're going to be grandfathered into the new one that we're going to be releasing in about a week, right? So you won't have to pay anything else. And the things that you're going to get is you're going to get a live orientation. It'll be a group orientation, but it'll still be live. You'll be able to ask questions because we'll probably use Zoom. So it's going to help streamline your process. You also will get access to the community that Farooq is talking about, so you can practice real time under pressure. In addition, you'll get access to all of the information that you need to take your speech to the next level. Okay, so thank you guys. Thank you, Farooq. Thank you, Dominic.
Thank you.
Sakshi,
Anytime.
anything else you want to add? Sakshi?
So just want to say thanks to everyone for joining, and this was great. And we'll see you next week again.
Yes, we'll see you next week. Okay, thank you guys.
See you. Bye bye.